you. If you don't know me, my name is Tim Miner. I'm one of the co-founders of Charlotte is Creative, and it is my distinct pleasure today to be able to present this opportunity to you guys, an opportunity for three very prominent, well-financed, and well-conceived opportunities for 2D and 3D art at the Pearl Innovation District. This is, and we'll have a little bit more about it from the folks behind it in a second, but the Pearl is a partnership between Atrium Health and the Wexford Science and Technology Company. It's going to break ground in, it's already broken ground. Sorry, what's wrong with me? It's broken ground earlier this year, and to really go into operation at the beginning of next year. But it's a multi-phased mixed-use development. It's going to feature office, lab, retail, residential, housing, all of that, plus Charlotte's first four-year medical school, the Wake Forest University School of Medicine here in Charlotte. This is a major development, not only for Uptown, but for our community. And the fact that Wexford and the Wexford team have elected to make local art part of rolling it out and part of how they're going to present themselves as a community is remarkable. And this is not
probably
you are the designer, and then you have
guys. If you are,
okay. But now I can relax.
I'm going to work on that, Tim.
As fascinating as that conversation sounds,
that young girl, lady.
Trying. Yeah, sorry, I'm on a call, but I'll be here. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that. It's remarkable that Wexford is choosing to do this in Charlotte, but this is something that they do in all markets that they work with. They have a love of collaboration and innovation and building of community that inspire, and they use art as well as their activities to inspire the people that work and live in the communities where they build. And that's a lot of me telling you about Wexford, but I'd love for Jay Panaval, our guest today, who is the Assistant Development Director with Wexford Science and Technology. Jay, I would love for you to come off mute and share a little bit more with us about what the Pearl is, why it's important for there to be local art in the first building, and what you're looking for specifically for these first three works.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Tim. I think you did a great job giving an overview of the Pearl. As Tim had mentioned, everyone, I'm Jay Pavanal. I'm an Assistant Development Director with Wexford Science and Technology. My market is Charlotte, so my main focus is the Pearl. As Tim had mentioned, this is going to be a substantial development for the city of Charlotte. We're going to be bringing Charlotte's first four-year medical school, the Wake Forest School of Medicine. And in addition to that, there's also going to be EarCAD. They're going to be having their North America headquarters located at the Pearl. And this is a big deal because this is an international surgical training center that's going to be bringing docs from all over the country and all over the world, for that matter, just because of its proximity to the Charlotte airport. So when it comes to like what we do as Wexford, we want to be able to highlight our local artists, and the Pearl is a great canvas for that, and highlighting artists all over the world, or highlighting them to visitors from all over the world. So we're just really excited to get this process started and learn more about you. And with that, I will pass it over to Travis, who is our Chief Culture and People Officer, and let him introduce himself to you guys.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to be on this call. As Jay mentioned, I'm also on the Wexford team. I serve as our Chief Community Officer, but a lot of that does include culture and people. But I always get to say, if you think about real estate development, the buildings represent the hardware, and what my team focuses on, I like to call the software. So that's all the programmatic elements. I also get to oversee our entire public art experience and portfolio, which is a lot of fun. We just ran through a similar process in Sacramento, California, and Baltimore, Maryland, for 2 projects out there, and have been really pleased with being able to work with the team at Charlotte as Creative. Because I mean, I've spent a lot of time in Charlotte. I'm currently here today. I'm here probably at least two times a month, and I've just been overwhelmed in a positive way with just the talent of the artists in the surrounding area. It is really important to us that the murals not just tell a story about science. I think that that's one piece of it. This is really to tell a story about Charlotte. And as we talk a little bit more about the locations, we really want to leave it open to the artist's interpretation of what, how they want to tell the story of Charlotte, and also possibly even the Brooklyn community, because this sits in historic Brooklyn. So thank you.
Thanks, Jay. That's fantastic. I will say, and we have the honor of working with a wide array of organizations, and as you guys can imagine, sometimes they have team members that are very keen on getting the art community involved, want to have beautiful things and meaningful works of art as part of their facilities or part of their activities, but say, oh, I don't exactly know what I'm doing here. I'm just going to trust you guys. Go ahead and do it. And with Jay and Travis, they have been incredibly involved. They've provided wonderful insight for us. They've given us the opportunity to bring this to you, but then they and their teams are going to be very much involved throughout the process. And that is to see that we have a corporate citizen that's coming in for this opportunity and others is fantastic. All right. So for the good use of your time, we're going to go through now, take some time, and just make sure that you understand the opportunities that are involved. I'm going to say at the top that everything we go through today, when you go to the application link, you're going to be able to get a sheet. You'll be able to work through, like download the project overview and guidelines document. That's going to summarize and go through everything we're talking about today and more. There are links to all the plans, all the renderings in great detail that you can access through that. And I invite you, before you start filling out your RFQ, if you have not already started, read through that document and what we're going to go over today in detail to make sure that you're doing it right, down to if you are one of the artists that are selected to take on one of these projects, there are some insurance requirements too. And all of that is laid out in the materials that you can access prior to starting your application. And the last thing I'll say before I hit this is the only thing that you're going to need to do outside of just starting to upload documents is you will need to create a submittable account. That is free. That will allow you to then access the application and start uploading your materials and answering questions. So what we're going to do now quickly is go through each of the 3 opportunities. Then we'll talk about the process, the rubric of how we're going to select artists for the second phase, the RFP phase, and the timeline for these projects. All right. So there are 3 distinct opportunities that are available through this RFQ. You may apply for all of them, but you may only be selected or eligible for one of them. So that choice is up to you. You can note in your RFQ that you want to do 1, 2, or 3, but you may only be selected for one. The other thing too is that for some of these opportunities, you may elect to work with other artists. That's your decision, but we're going to count you as the lead artist. So whoever submits, that's the style, that's the background, that's the pedigree that we're checking, and those are the answers we're looking at. We're looking to you to be, the pacemaker on that. So let's go through. Sathu, we can go ahead and go to the next, to the first opportunity. The first opportunity is 2 interrelated murals in the lobby. They are respectively 550 square feet and 250 square feet for a total of 800 square feet. The budget for this project is $32,000, and that is inclusive of materials, equipment, and all the labor. So that is your all-in number. As you can see, and we'll definitely see. I did just see a note that someone's having trouble with the audio. Am I hard to hear in any way, Sethu?
I can hear you okay, Tim.
Yeah, I hear you perfectly.
All right,
Okay.
thank you guys. Just want to make sure because we're getting into the nitty gritty. As you'll see in this rendering, there are a few things that you're going to have to take into account on the lobby mural. This is 2D work. You are going to have to contend with that staircase that is in front of the main section of the mural, and then there is a second piece that goes down a hallway. And if we go to the next slide, I think you'll get another sense of how that works. We consider these, and Wexford consider these. Originally, they were two separate, but because they are so close, and optically, there are times when they almost seem like they're the same. Those that you need to come up with an interrelated plan for both of these sections. Thus, it is not two; it is one. This will be awarded to one artist after the RFP process is taken on. Moving on to the second opportunity. And all of these schematics, everything we're showing you now is accessible in the project overview and guidelines document that you can download right now, immediately after this call. Secondly, we have a 100-square-foot opportunity in the elevator lobby, and this is the intention here, and the desire from Wexford is that this is going to be a 3D work of art that extends from a 2D base. So it will come out from the wall, and this has a budget of ranging between $4,000 and $7,500. On to the next, and you'll get to see a few more renderings of it. There we go. And then the third opportunity in an area called the Knuckle is another 2D mural. This is 250 square feet, but it does have complexity in that you are going to have to factor into this mural that there are two doorways, and in the center there will be a piece of signage that you're going to have to contend with, and that is all of that is shown in the rendering. I've been remiss in noting, but I'm sure you guys are smart enough to already see, Wexford has been kind enough in these documents to give us an idea of the color palette they're using and the materials and the hues of those materials. There are a lot of earth tones that they're using in their materials. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're restricted to that, but it's going to be helpful probably in the kinds of samples that you choose to submit through your RFQ. And then should you be selected for the RFP, what you ultimately create. And that I want to make sure all of us are super clear on that right now. In this first round, the RFQ, the request for qualifications round, there is no new work that's being asked for. This is all samples of previous work. But we asked that, this is time to really consider, what do you want to show? And I think that as we get into the rubric, you'll see we not only want to get a good sense of your style and that hopefully the work that you're submitting is representative, but not necessarily specific to what you would create should you have an opportunity to submit a full proposal. But we want to get a sense of the type of work you do, the complexity of work you do, and you have a narrative opportunity with each of those through the deck to explain that project. And I would advise all of you to be very careful and use that opportunity to talk about what those projects were, what it meant to you, what factored into your ultimate work, and if you did that work for a client, how that relationship worked. All of that helps us build a picture not only of you as an artist, but as you as a working artist. Finally, I would say, please, if this is something that's newer to you, Don't be intimidated. This opportunity is open to artists of all skill levels. So put your best foot forward. If this is something that you want to do, please fill out an RFQ and give us the opportunity to evaluate you and hopefully advance you to the RFP round. With that, I'm going to turn this to, or I'm going to ask Sethu to come on, and she and I will talk through how the process is going to work, the rubric, and the timeline.
Hey everyone, I'm Sethu Raval with Charlotte is Creative. We're really excited about this opportunity. We're really excited to get your RFQ forms in. I shared the link in the chat to where you can see the form. And on that page, you'll have, it's in really big letters, but you're able to download a PDF of all of these guidelines. And the timeline. So this information, as Tim mentioned before, is going to be available to you. If you have trouble accessing it, we'll definitely drop our email in the chat in just a little bit. But please feel free to reach out. We are currently in the RFQ phase, which means that after this call, if you haven't already, please feel free to go to the submittable link, check out the form, review the questions, review the requirements so that you can complete the best application and the best RFQ. As Tim mentioned, this first phase, it will run until September 1st. So the deadline to submit the RFQ is September 1st. And this portion of the application, you'll be asked to complete a series of 5 short answer questions. And we'll go over some of this when we talk about the rubric, but please spend time thinking about these questions. You can draft them. Submittable has a way for you to be able to save your form and come back to it later. So if you want to work on it bit by bit, please feel free to do that. In addition to those questions, you'll upload a resume. You'll be able to provide samples of past work. You'll be able to upload PDFs of your samples, and under that, there's an area where you can put information about that. When you submitted this project, stakeholders and collaborators you worked with, the timeline, when it was complete, and any other details you'd like to include. There's also a section in the form where you can upload letters of recommendations from past clients and collaborators. And this will just give the reviewers a sense of what the experience was like for folks who collaborated with you, clients you worked with, what it was like to work with you. The reviewers will be comprised of folks from the Pearl. We've got representatives from Wexler, Atrium, Wake Forest, and then we have local arts and culture community members that will also be sitting on the review panel. So it's a really diverse group of people, and they will get a sense of who you are as an artist and which individuals will be appropriate to move forward and selected to move forward to the RFP round.
And it's important to note that when, again, this is a question that comes up a bit, and I know I've said it several times, but I really want to be clear. We're not asking you to do spec work. Wexford is not asking you to create anything new in this RFQ phase. It should all be existing work that you've done. Should you be selected for the RFP phase, you will be compensated for the proposal that you put together, whether or not you are ultimately selected for the work.
Yes, absolutely. So that next phase, we will go through the timeline in just a little bit, but after the RFQ phase, we move into the request for proposals. So the review panel will select finalists for all 3 works of art, and they will then reach out to those, we'll reach out to those finalists, and you'll get another form. And this will be an opportunity to upload a rough conceptual design of the artwork. We will, as Tim mentioned, artists in this stage will receive a stipend to work on this design. Artists will have an opportunity to present their designs to the panel in December. Oh, let me All right, there we go. And then the review panel will meet, they'll have discussions, and then they'll select the final artists for the 3 individual areas by January 15th. So again, I'll go through the timeline in just a little bit, but when we're in the RFP phase, we'll do another one of these info sessions. So we'll provide more details. The form will look a little bit different, and we'll give you a detailed overview if you are a finalist in that stage of what to upload, what the Pearl is looking for, and just some highlights that you should consider before you dive into that artwork and design. And then just a quick overview of the timeline. So again, all of this information is available to you on the application link. But the deadline that we should be focusing on today is the September 1st deadline to submit your RFQ. Reviewers will be looking at the RFQ forms in early September up until the 19th. And then by September 20th, everyone that has submitted an RFQ will be notified. So you'll find out by September 20th whether, if you are a finalist, and the next steps that will follow to start developing your designs. Those finalists will receive a chunk of time between mid to late September to early December, December 1st, to develop their concepts. They'll present those concepts that first week of December to the selection panel. The selection panel will spend some time reviewing that after the meeting. And then again, by January 15th, anyone that is all the 3 artists that are selected for the 3 opportunities will be notified. And then we'll have another process for those artists to meet with the Pearl team, receive some feedback, go back and forth, finalize their designs, get any questions answered. And then they will be able to begin work. Right now we have March 3rd, but I know we've talked about this internally. There's, if that process moves a little bit quicker, then artists can start even earlier than that. Jay, Travis, Tim, is there anything you wanted to add to the timeline?
The only thing that I would note is that that Charlotte as creative will be involved with you to some degree through the project. Just at the very least, making sure that all the communications between you and the project team at Wexford are flowing well. If you are selected as the final artist for one of the 3 opportunities, you will work with the team there on the ground, but we will remain involved to kind of make sure things are going smoothly and that everybody is on the same page. I would say too, this is we have 31 days, actually, maybe even more than that, for you to apply. I put the email in the chat, applications at Charlotte is Creative. Please use that. Ask questions. It's better that you hit us with a question, whether we immediately know the answer or we have to go find it out for you, than to wait. But I will say this is really important on the timeline. The closer that we get to the deadline, the less room and time we have as a team to get the answers to your questions. So look at it now, start now. Please do not wait to the last week, because as we get into the last 72 hours, it may be very difficult for us to get you the answers you need to complete your RFQ application. I'll turn it. We got some questions in the chat, but
I just wanted to add.
Yeah,
I just wanted to add one thing too. Cynthia, can't remember if you mentioned it or not, but we will be advancing 2 artists for each location forward into the RFQ stage, or RFP stage, I'm sorry. So there'll be a total of 6 artists that will be moving forward into the RFP.
Thank you, Travis.
That's great.
That's great. And then the final thing before we move into questions is that we wanted to give you a bit of information about how the review panel will be looking at these RFQs. What's the rubric? How are they going to be critiquing the RFQs that come in. And so they'll, the review panel will answer some questions. They'll be having discussions as well. And there are two key elements that they will look at when they review your RFQ. They'll look at your personal track record. So again, these are the work samples that you have submitted, whether they reflect, if let's say you're applying for the murals. Well, they'll want to see work samples of past mural work. They'll want to see if the work samples you provided are in line with the projects that you are applying for. You'll have that opportunity in the RFQ to list when you worked on these projects, whether they were completed. Again, through the recommendation letters, they'll be able to get a sense of if you were successfully delivered the work that you were commissioned to do in the past, whether you have experience doing public art projects. And again, as Tim mentioned, even if you may not have that experience, but you've worked on some other projects that you've been commissioned to do, please still apply. Reach out and ask questions. We can advise you whether or not this is an opportunity that you want to apply for. And then again, you were collaborating in the past with stakeholders and clients and what that experience was like. So we'll get a sense of that from the questions that you answer, the work samples that you provide, and then of course the recommendation letters that come through. The second piece that the reviewers will look at is the creative spirit. So there are a couple of questions in the form that ask about your connection to Charlotte, that ask about maybe your connection to the Brooklyn community. Why is it that this is a project you want to apply for? Why do you want to put your name in the hat? What is it that excites you about this opportunity? How is it personal to you? These are things that really help a reviewer in addition to the work samples that you submit. So please just take time and review those questions, think them over. As Tim said, you don't have to wait until the final week. Everything's available to you now. Feel free to start on those applications today and reach out with questions.
Yeah, I would add to that, Sethu, there is a word count, a character count on the answer. Tell your story, but do it efficiently. I think sometimes we'll have folks that either it's hard to find that middle, right? Sometimes people write very short answers that it's difficult to gauge from. Then you have others that write a novel. We're asking you to be a little bit more economical with your words and kind of get to the point, but understand that everything tells the story. Your letters of recommendation, the samples that you send, maybe some notes on the photos of the samples or the PDFs that you upload. All of that helps you tell your story as an artist of why you are worthy of being considered for these opportunities. Sethu, are you ready to get into some of these questions?
That sounds great.
Great. And Jay and Travis will probably pull you into some of these. The first question I saw was from Malou, who asked, how artists of all experience levels be considered if they don't have references from past clients in public art? It doesn't have to be specifically that you've done public art, but I mean, I know in your case, you've done art that's for public consumption or publicly displayed. So, references can come from clients you did smaller projects for, or organizations that you partnered with on something. We're, through those letters, we're trying to get a sense of how you work, what you bring to a project, and how do you take an idea from conception to delivery, and what is it that is distinct about you. So it doesn't have, again, think through that. Perhaps you've not done a large piece of public art in the scale, but you've done something with somebody who can speak to who you are and how you work. Journey had a question about an example of an artist resume. That's not something that we have prepared for today. We can endeavor to put a sample up on the materials that you can download potentially. But we're, again, we want a document that has a sense of what have you done. That could be where have you shown and what kind of work was shown, what kind of work have you been hired to do on a variety of scales. So that just helps give us an understanding of what you've done and which media you've worked. Let's see. Next question. Jay and Travis, I'd appreciate it. We have a question. This actually came in through a private DM, just to illuminate a little bit more about the insurance requirements. Now, these are available for you to read through, but if you could give a high level on it, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, Jay, are you available for that answer?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
great,
guys.
thanks. No
Just
worries.
navigating to the mute button. Yeah, so the insurance requirements are basically, so we have a capital partner and it's standard language, just anyone entering the building while it's under development and still technically a construction site. It's just our standard language around what those insurance requirements are, just in order to get access to the site. If you have more specific questions, feel free to send them to the Charlotte creative team, and I can get with our legal team to help get you a more concrete response. But it is just kind of standard across all of our portfolio. Anyone that works in or around the building while it's in development is required to have those insurance requirements. Hopefully that helps.
Thanks, Jay. That's great. And again, as you get into it and you have an opportunity to read through it, should you have questions, reach out to us. We'll make sure that we get you the answers that you need. Donna asked, can the applications be submitted as a collaborative team, or does it have to be an individual? I think that's a complicated answer in that it does not have to be an individual, but there's one there's one budget that you'll need to work in, and if you are applying as a team, the work samples, they'd be very helpful if the work samples are of your work together as a team. Outside of that, if you're an individual artist who wants to bring on other artists to help deliver your vision, we're going to consider your style, your work, the references about you to be you're the lead artist on it. So there's not a hard and fast on it. It does not have to be an individual, but for evaluation's sake, if you don't have examples of work of how you've worked together as a team before, we're going to be evaluating and reviewing the work from whoever submitted the RFQ. This is a question for Travis, actually. I wish I had this at the top of my head, but memory is failing me at the moment. Jody Lynn was wondering what the depth measurement is on the 100 square foot 3D piece.
Yeah, probably not protruding any further than 4 to 6 inches out from the wall.
Thank you.
There's another question later that I'll go ahead and answer, and that's aligned with this, and some examples of what we've seen in the past. My favorite one, and I was trying to find an image, I don't know if I could find it this quickly, is in our Phoenix, the lobby in one of our buildings in Phoenix. An artist poured molten, I think it was bronze, onto concrete to create organic shapes, and those are all attached to the wall, and they probably stick out 3 to 4 inches. So it just provides some depth and relief from the wall. That's probably one of the ones that that comes to mind first when I think about a 3D sculptural piece on the wall.
Thank you very much. We had a question: should the letters of recommendation be specific to the Pearl, or can past correspondence related to previous? It should be about the work that you've done. Because it's difficult to get a letter of recommendation. We want a sense of we would like to hear from people who have worked with you about the experience of working with you. So it doesn't need to be about the Pearl. It can say we recommend so and so for this opportunity, but the experience and the reference needs to be based on work that you have done with that person. Here's an interesting question we've got. Is there I actually think Travis just answered it. Is there a preference for the artistic medium in the 2D works? I think, well, that actually goes with another question that we have of, must it be a painted mural? Travis, do you have any thoughts you'd like to share on that particular item?
Yeah, I think we're open. We've seen in some locations a vinyl mural installed, so it's not painted. It's somebody that maybe has an expertise and a background in digital art that they want to translate into a vinyl mural. That has worked. We have seen, and forgive me, I don't remember the name of the product, but it's like a fabric that is painted in studio and then applied on the wall. I think we will probably avoid any sort of light installations or anything like that might require additional infrastructure like electricity. But hopefully that answers the question. I could try to get more specific if there's additional questions related to that.
I think what I'd love to end with, Travis, if it's okay with you on that one, excite us, excite the review with your idea. If you want to propose a traditional painted mural, that is perfectly fine. But if you've got something innovative that is, does not protrude from the wall very far that you want to suggest, do it, and let the reviewers and the team at Wexford consider that.
We have just as another example of that in Philadelphia in one of our projects. The mural is more of a mixed media, so there's some applied pieces that are on the wall along with the painted artwork.
Thank you very much. A few more questions we've got. Is the 3D piece intended to encompass the entire 100 square foot area? Yes, it is. Another is an explanation of what we mean with there being a 2D base. I mean, it is going to be affixed to the wall. So it may not have to be flat, but at the end of the day, it's not a sculpture that's going to be sitting in on the floor that can be walked around. It will be protruding from the wall. And then I think Thaddeus, I don't know if you heard, but again, the depth of field is 3 to 4 inches into the space, so not very far.
6 inches maximum.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Travis. Does anyone else have? These are great questions. Again, this is not.
Well, actually, we skipped one that I really like. I think it's Kayla's question. Kayla's question: describe the ideal candidate for this opportunity. I think that's a great question. I kind of go back to what Tim said, excite us. I mean, I think the ideal candidate is going to be able to tell the story of Charlotte and the story of maybe Brooklyn, the Brooklyn community. I always say it doesn't have to be on the nose about science. Again, I'll use an example from Phoenix, in which one of our murals in our Phoenix location has an image of a double helix that's painted over saguaro cacti because it takes into consideration the environmental aspects of Phoenix plus a nod towards science. But we've had others. We have one that we just selected for Sacramento that is just a purely abstract image. Does not really have a nod towards science at all. I think the ideal candidate. I also say this. I know this is being recorded, but I'm okay saying this. We don't like working with assholes, so just like let's all be good partners on this. I think that that it goes a long way. We love to enjoy the artists that we work with, and we also want the artists to enjoy working with us. So if you have a tendency to be problematic, then try not to be on this project. I won't encourage you to not apply. If you have a tendency to be problematic, you can still apply. But for this project, let's just work together.
I think, Jay, I love the to the point nature of that. I think that's part of the story that we're hoping that you will tell. Malou, back to your point, the letter of recommendation or kind of a testimonial to how you work doesn't have to be about scale. It can be about the process and what it was like to work with you and what you as a creative individual brought to it beyond what you created and what you left behind. What was it like to work with you, to conceive of it and to deliver it? And I know in the work thus far that we've done with Wexford, they are here to be a community partner. So this is not a come in, do a piece of art and there ends the relationship. There's an opportunity for that to potentially continue, but also that Wexford is not building a building and leaving Charlotte. They are going to be here for the long haul for quite a while, adding to our cultural landscape as well as the development of Uptown and our medical prowess as a city. So this is an opportunity to have a relationship with somebody, not just have a job, and the work that you upload should tell that story. I just saw another question pop up. Got to get to it. I'm sorry. This is Addison would like to know. I think this is probably going to get back to wow them, but can living plants be part of the 3D element? And so that's a question, I guess, for the Wexford folks. Do you want the responsibility for that ongoing maintenance?
No. What we have seen in the past is we have in a couple of our projects included moss walls or artists doing something with moss, but they're generally preserved or freeze dried or whatever it does that makes the moss look good and look new forever without needing to water it or mist it. So all of the projects, especially the 3D piece, we don't mind if there are small pieces that need to be dusted because again, we know that sculptural work may need to be dusted, but just as you're considering the 3D piece specifically, try to consider the maintenance that might go along with it in order to maintain the integrity of the piece.
All right. Well, guys, y'all have been very efficient with your questions. Does anybody else have anything that they care to explore before we thank Jay and Travis for their time? And we wish you all well as you put together RFQs. It is our goal at Charlotte is Creative to make sure that we present to our reviewers a broad list of individuals or collectives, both stylistically and background, and that we really show them this first time out what what sets Charlotte apart. So I hope that you will not only bring your all to your application, but that you will share this. The only thing that will give me heartburn, and I think Travis, Sethu, and Jay, is that an artist wakes up on September the 2nd and says, oh my God, I wish I had applied. We've got a month left. We're here to help you. Please put together a great application package for the RFQ and ask questions so that you have the best advantage possible to be selected for the RFP phase. Well, thanks to all. Jay, Travis, thanks for your time. And more importantly, thank you for bringing this opportunity to Charlotte. Can't wait to show you what the Queen City is capable of.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Care.